Mrs. Anderson, Mr. Gust,
Here.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Here.
Mrs. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Winkler.
Here.
All right, let's stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, let's pray. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to come together to take care of the business of the district and the technology to keep us safe. Please guide us to make the best decisions for our students and staff. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God,
Individual.
and
liberty
liberty
and
for all.
justice for all.
All right, that brings us to the approval of the agenda. Are there any questions about the agenda? Okay, if there's no questions or issues with the agenda, I need a motion to approve.
This is Ronnie. I'll make a motion we approve.
Thank you, Ronnie.
I'll second. Greg.
Okay, voting is open. Jerry and Greg, are you seeing a pop-up box?
Um,
I just went on, I'm just logging on to board docs.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So-
I'm trying. I was trying. It's not coming up. So hold on a second.
I'm voting yes to accept.
Okay, I gotcha.
All
Here we
right,
go.
I got mine, Connie.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Motion carries. That brings us to public participation. Is there any, Connie?
No, I did not receive one. Any.
Thanks.
Nor did I.
Thanks, Rob. All right, we are on Superintendent's Cabinet Report.
All right, Sarah. Well, let's say thanks for everyone attending this evening. Our guests that we have on board with us tonight, thank you guys for joining in. Sarah, Connie, Jennifer, Cindy, Linda, all of you, I want to wish you all, and for all mothers out there, a belated happy Mother's Day.
Thanks, Rob.
Hope you enjoyed your day. Weather wasn't bad, pretty decent, so I hope you had a good Mother's Day. With that being said, we'll go through our cabinet, and since we have Mr. Ashley on board with us, I think I'll go right to Linda O'Connor, so she can give a brief update.
Okay, we were asked to take a look at our food service, and we did a survey with students, and then we had a review done by Chris Ashley, he's very experienced in this arena. And based on that, the cafeteria committee decided we would RFP out to a food service, which would still include the nutrition group. That RFP is at Department of Education. We expect it out tomorrow, and then it would be posted Monday. I'm going to call on Chris just to do a brief overview of his report on what he found from looking at the nutrition group and the food service.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, when I was able to break the food service down into the base components. We looked at things like where revenues were, the food cost, the labor costs, supply costs, utilization of commodities, to see how the operation in the district was being managed. The key findings were that revenues since the 16-17 school year had experienced a 33.29% decline. And the nutrition group in their current proposed 2021 was going to turn that around by 11.66%, but there was really no plan in place that I could identify why it would turn around. The next area that we looked at, labor cost percentage. Due to the declining revenues, the labor cost percentage increased 41% from 16-17 to the 19-20 school year. The proposed was only going to bring it down to 94% of all revenues. So you're going to be paying 94 cents on the dollar of revenues out in just labor. That was very concerning, especially since the labor raw cost increased 28.15%, but wages basically over that same period of time were flat. So it was the declining revenues and benefit increases, I believe, that drove the cost of labor up. The next area that we looked at was the lunch meals. They had declined by over 49,000 over that course, the same period in time. The proposed increase in their plan was 19,000, basically 500. But again, there was no real plan in place as to how that would be achieved. Reimbursable lunches also determine commodity entitlement that the district receives, which offsets food cost. So those 49,000 lunches that weren't served over that course of time at about 40 cents a lunch cost the district about $20,000 per year in commodity entitlements that they weren't receiving. So the entitlement lost, as I was able to calculate that out over the 3-year span, 18, 19, 19, 20, and what would have been 2021 was about $52,000 that the district should have gotten to offset the cost. Then when I looked at the commodity entitlement that the district had earned, but was not spent, in 17-18, there was between the initial entitlements and what they call allocated entitlements, which is they sweep the commodities not being used by districts and reallocate them out to districts so that they can utilize that. The district had about $111,000, between $111,000 and $112,000 at their disposal to spend, and they did not spend over $46,000 in the 17-18 school year. In the 18-19 school year, there was almost, well, $43,000 again that went unspent. In that year, there was 105,000 basically allocated to the district, and they only spent 61. And then in the budget that was presented for the upcoming school year, or for this past school year, they had a graph in there that showed that they were at 75% spent for that year, looking like they would at least come close this past year, to spending their entitlement. But what they did not include was the reallocated commodities that were approximately $20,000 additional. So based on their projected where they were at in the course of the year and the amount of commodities that they had spent, there would have been another $24,000 in unspent commodities in this past school year. So commodities lost and unspent. Basically, the decrease in the number of meals cost the district about $52,000. And over the past 3 years, they did not spend almost $14,000. So that leaves $166,000 that was on the table that would have offset the costs of the district that the nutrition group did not spend. All those factors are part of if you're utilizing your commodities and increasing meals, that brings your revenue up. If your labor stays constant, you can run an efficient operation. In my experience, that was not happening, in the district there. And then did do some work on work productivity, and the district is at 14.54 meals per labor hour. The state standard by the auditor's office, they target basically 18 meals per labor hour. So the district is not efficient in the utilization of the labor in the schools. There are some schools that are as low as 9.47 meals per labor hour. And there are some that are more efficient, that are up almost to 21 meals per labor hour. Finally, the food supply, the food cost per meal is a little bit high, partially due to the universal breakfast that doesn't generate only about $1.25 per meal. And the typical breakfast cost is about 90 cents. So you're running basically 75% food cost and almost 100% labor cost. So that's working against the district financially. And that was pretty much what, the financial analysis of the district food service operation yielded.
Thank you, Chris. And that's why the cafeteria committee recommended an RFP, which could go out to the nutrition group and 4 additional companies that are awaiting an RFP Monday, and still get it back in time and recommendation for the next board meeting. I didn't know if anybody had any questions for Chris.
I do, Linda. I'm not sure if you hit on it, Chris, but what would be the reason that they would not utilize all of the commodities?
I know the question was asked and they said they were trying to please the students. There are multiple ways to use commodities. You can buy certain products that the commodity dollars are sent to the manufacturer. They discount that product and sell it back to the district, taking that food cost basically off the normal price of that commodity. With the group purchasing organizations that you are in, there are multiple products that you can use. There's multiple chicken patties, so you can pick one that is, of good quality that will please the students. There is also what's known as what they call brown box, which is you can buy frozen broccoli. It traditionally came from the USDA in a brown box, and that's why it's called that. But it's products like broccoli. They have like canned corn, canned green beans, all of those kind of things, peaches, pears, products that are produced in the United States. And all you pay for that product is $2.95, which is a handling and shipping charge. And that, if the product is $20 on the open market, then that would, you would get a $17 credit against your entitlements. So that is another way to spend it. The other way to spend it is there's the Department of Defense Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program. In that program, all you got to do is sign up. And then weekly you get whatever your produce that you want to buy. You can, romaine lettuce, apples, oranges, again, anything produced in the United States. And that's dollar for dollar on your entitlements. So, if you're spending $80,000 or $50,000 with a produce vendor, you could actually switch that all to the Department of Defense and utilize it that way. So there are multiple ways to spend that money. In my experience tells me they just didn't pay attention to it and weren't working in the district's best interest.
So is the way that you figured that, did you look at all the commodity possibilities available to them and they just didn't take advantage of all of those opportunities?
Yeah, they were paying for produce. They were buying products that were full price when there was commodity equivalents available.
Okay.
And there is a PAL report, which is it's called Planned Assistance Level, that is out on the website for ODE, can be accessed at any time, and it shows you what you have entitled, what you've spent each and every month. And then once January hits, you see your reallocated commodities is hits that district PAL report so that it's there. It's averaged over the past 3 years getting an additional between 30 and 40%. 40% has been the average additional entitlement each year. So if you get $50,000, you can almost guarantee you're going to get another 20. The smart operator plans to use the 70 from day one.
Right. Okay.
So this is Jerry Gus. So you're telling the people here what I've been telling them for 2 years now, that we'd be better off running the thing ourselves. Is that right or not?
Not necessarily yourself, but with a good operator. I had 21 years professional experience before I came into school food service. I worked for Sodexo, Marriott, Saga. It changed names, but it was the same company. And that's where I got a lot of my training. It took me a year to understand school food service. It's very different. It's highly regulated. Things you think you can do that make kind of logical sense, you can't. Or you've got to work around the regulation. And if you don't know those regulations, you can get yourself into a situation where you could face financial penalty from the state through the USDA on their audits by not following those regulations, by doing something that you think is good for the students and all that kind of stuff, but you may be violating some of the regulations. The regulations, when I first came in 15 years ago, it was fairly simple. You created a menu, you had to worry about calories, fat, saturated fats, and sodium. And basically, if you ran that menu, you were kind of good to go. Now, every year or two, they pile on new regulations. In 2012, when that reauthorization, the Healthy Hungry Kids Free Act came in, that completely changed all the regulations, and it became very detail oriented on making sure that your menus conform to the regulations. We spent, I mean, literally weeks in the office working on getting compliant menus that the students would eat. So just having somebody who is a good person, but doesn't understand all the regulations of school food service can actually get you in more trouble than hiring somebody who is a professional at what they're doing.
Okay, but what I'm saying is we can train our own people, okay? I mean, you learned it, they can learn it. But what I'm saying is you got state-approved menus from the state, thousands of them. All you have to do is submit them and the state accepts them. What's the big deal? You act like everything's so tough about this. All we have to do is call the state and get approval for these menus. And then we can also, you know, get help from the state if we got problems, the people that's running it for us. I don't see no problem at all with us running ourselves. Matter of fact, when we was running ourselves before, our lunch count was up a lot higher. They was getting better food and we was losing less money. Facts or fiction? Check it out. I guarantee you, we was losing less money when we run it ourselves. And the kids was eating, the counts was up and everything. Right now, you have none of that. Check your numbers and tell me if I'm right.
And the numbers of meals has declined.
Yes, very much so. Since this new group started.
Hey, Jerry, this is Ronnie. Can I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Hey, when Jerry and I looked at these cafeterias and we brought up about the nutrition group, is just me and him always raising that. There was never a check and balance system. And it seemed like the nutrition group didn't want to listen to the cooks. The cooks knew what the kids wanted to eat. And Chris, you brought it up the other day. That was the best I ever heard of anyone talk about the cafeteria funds. But if you won't eat it, then the kids aren't going to eat it. The cooks know what they want to eat. And over your 21-day plan, I mean, you had it down pat on everything we've been telling them. And also, they got to fill their reports out the right way. Someone's got to fill their reports out the right way, or we lose our funding, which you brought up. I'm done. All right, Jerry.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just stating the fact that the facts is we had a lot better program when we run it ourselves. The kids was eating, the numbers was up. We wasn't losing us near much money. So I'm disagreeing with you, buddy, when you say we can't run it ourselves.
I didn't say that, Jerry.
Oh, did the other guy, whoever,
Oh.
Chris, he's saying that you need to get a professional. We can train our own people.
There got to be a check and balance system here.
Yeah.
So Linda, when you were on the committee, did you guys entertain or figure about, you know, what it would take for us to be able to run this program in-house?
Yeah, that did come up. Chris had addressed, yes, you can train your in-house people. It's going to take a while. And he's a professional. It took him a year. So in the recommendation of an RFP, it was also brought up that with a professional group, you could also train your in-house staff. So eventually you could run it in-house.
So the RFP, is there a length of time when you award that contract?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Sarah.
Sorry. In the RFP, what length of time do you say that contract will be for?
Yeah, it could still start July 1 for the next year.
And would it be year by year?
Yeah, year by year. Mhm.
Okay.
Linda, this is Greg. We had that meeting the other day with Chris originally, and we talked about, and I think Rob mentioned that it's a 5-year contract, but it's year to year. You can keep them for a year and then you can get rid of them the next year. And what we discussed, and Jerry, this is for you, and Ronnie was listening to that. What we talked about and discussed was is to bring somebody on board on our side, use a nutrition group, whoever it may be, the one we have, or we were talked about putting it out for bid to get the best option based on what our criteria would be. And then over the course of whatever it may be, 1, 2, 3 years, whatever it would take to train that in-house person to eventually take over the program with our own people, because we don't have anybody currently that would be certified to do the things we have to do. And I understand there's menus out there to be approved upon, but you have to have somebody that knows the ins and outs of the situation, which any nutrition group would have that person. And as we discussed in the meeting at length with Chris, and he had a lot of really, really good information, and somebody I think we want to use to go back on and to bounce ideas off of. But ultimately what we decided to look into was to put it out for bid, potentially for 1 year to 3 years, to train somebody in-house to take over the program, as you suggested, Jerry, to run it ourselves.
I've been hearing this for almost 3 years now, Greg. I've had enough of it.
Well, I understand that, but I think there's a way to go about it, because right now we don't have anybody in-house to run the program.
We can get our people in there and get the state to help us run it. There's a way around it, believe me, Greg. I don't care who these guys come in and they tell you. They're all wanting a job. I want my own people in there, like it was before when kids was eating, and we wasn't losing near as much money. Now tell me we can't do it. I think you're wrong.
Well, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just think there has to be a way. If we have no one, if you've got somebody in mind that's certified to make these choices, I'm 100% behind it. But it's not our decision to make when it comes to a state situation or regulation. And if we get caught doing something outside of the parameters of what we're allowed to do, we're not going to get that funding. And I think Chris alluded to the commodity issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, that there's a 3-year deal. If you don't do something within the confines of that time period, you lose the funding.
No, you don't lose the funding. You actually lose it year to year.
Okay.
If you don't spend it, especially the reallocated commodities, they're gone. They're there for your use for that year. They're trying to get those funds spent in that year. Once that is gone, once the year ends, those are then basically swept back away.
Okay. So if they're not dealt with properly, they're gone.
Right.
Okay.
So I think maybe what we need to talk about is with having the district take over the cafeteria at the end of the next RFP, if that's possible. Like, we may need to put that in the RFP that we put out there, because a company coming in, they need to know that. We need them to be transparent with us. And they may not be interested if they know that this is probably not long-term with us. Do you see what I'm saying?
Exactly. But my thought is, we did it before, we can do it again if we just work at it. We're the board, we'll direct Rob, and we'll direct the administrator to get the job done, whatever it takes. We did it before, we can do it again. We've been getting them all these times, the kids ain't eating, the numbers is down, it's costing more. I don't understand the way of thinking here, that you're gonna let somebody come in here and tell us we gotta do this. No, we did it before, we can do it again.
I think, sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
We can get the people, we'll find the people, we'll train our own people.
Well, I think that's the issue, is who's going to train them.
We'll get the state to train them. We'll pay to get their training. How do we train anybody? We pay people to train people. Look how many advisors and stuff we pay.
Well, and that's my point to to what I said earlier, I agree with you. I'm on board with what you're saying. I think that in-house is the best way to go because when you got somebody outside, their interest is making money, not what our kids are eating. My point is, if we have to pay somebody, which we discussed in our last cafeteria committee meeting, was to put it out to bid, and it could be the people we have or somebody new, and bring those people in with somebody that we can work with and have a person in-house that would oversee, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 7 cafeterias. And once that is under, we feel comfortable that this person or persons that can run the situation, then we can year to year get rid of the nutrition group. Even though it's a 5-year contract, it's year to year. So if we use them 1 year, then 1 year, and then we've got somebody that knows what's going on, how to do all this. Because that, what Chris alluded to, the commodities deal, you would think that they would have somebody. This particular nutrition group obviously didn't have somebody that took care of that situation. And under our stipulations, to accept a bid for someone else would be that in itself, to manage that correctly and know, now that we know where the deficit lies, that's an issue that needs to be taken up. And I think we had 3 or 4 or 5, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, people that we were going to reach out to look into bidding in this situation, to kind of, Chris said it was a friendly competition or whatever, put a little pressure on whoever it is to get people in. I just feel that we don't have somebody right now that could take it over at this time, to be ready to go by next school year.
Okay, Chris, we used to use a cycle menu. Now, there's meetings at the state that we can send our people to train us. Okay, Gordon Food Services, they have all the training. You just tell them, you just go ahead and look online and you can see all the training you need from Gordon's Food Service. They have menu templates. There's a commodity tracker that Gordon Food Service will help them use. We can run this ourselves. All we have to do is get the right people to help us. They got meetings at the state all the time. We can send our people to whoever we put in there. What do you think about a cycle menu, Chris?
A cycle menu is the basis of a good food service operation in school food service. It was when I came out from being, just to give you my history, I worked for a contractor for 21 years. Then I was a self-op food service director at a district where we started out with about $3.5 million when I originally came in, and when I left, our annual budget was $5.7 million. So we increased $2.3 million over that 15-year period. But again, you got to have somebody who understands school food service and is a good financial manager in order to run a self-op operation the right way. In Ohio, 320 of the 590 reporting school districts have lost money. So more than 50% of the school districts in Ohio lose money in their food service operation. However, there is 270 that are making money. So it can be done.
Okay, but everything I've told you is true, right or not? There's meetings that you can go to at the state that we can send our people to.
Yes,
and
they do.
Is it true that Gordon Food Services has all the training? Just look online, you can see it.
They have training online, yes.
And there's a commodity tracker that Gordon Food Services will help you with. Is that right?
Yes, there's a commodity tracker, yes.
The health department also will train our employees. Is that true?
They will give them guidance, yes.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. We can do it ourselves. I'm done. I'm finished with my statements.
Hey, this is Ronnie. In the past, we always made sure we used our commodities when we ran. We have freezer down in the bus garage. We use Swiss Heels. All the walk-in coolers we use, and now we built new schools. We got extra walk-in coolers. I don't know why they didn't use them. And Connie, if I'm right, what we lost in the cafeteria fund and plus what we lost in commodities, that's over $400,000. Am I correct? I didn't hear her. She's muted.
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah,
Yes, you're correct, Ronnie.
that's what I thought. I hate for someone to pay someone to come in here and tell us how to lose all this money. I'm done.
I think there's several issues that, we need to consider. I've been told that we're not going to make money in the cafeteria area because of our benefits and wages. So, how high of a concern is that for us? On the other hand, I'm hearing that our students aren't eating. They're not happy with the food. That needs to be taken into consideration. I don't know if we have it in-house, if that's any better financially, but we would probably have more control, direct control over how the cafeteria does things and what they serve.
Yeah, Sarah, we had that meeting the other day. I don't know how much information you got from that, but it was a very productive meeting. I thought we talked about a lot of things, and Chris made the comment of the commodity money, which is the big deal about getting that and getting things in the kids will eat. And the way that's determined is by how many lunches that you serve. So you got to get the kids to eat. Well, if the kids don't like what they eat, then you're not serving lunches. So who does that come back on? The nutrition group, the way it's served, the way it's prepped. There's a ton of variables with that. And what we talked about was to try to get this situation where eventually we have our own in-house person. And that's why I was telling Jerry, and we've talked about it a couple other times. I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody else do we have somebody that's even, I realize we have to train him, Jerry. I get that, but that's still going to take time to train. You can't put somebody in a position to do that job if they're not qualified to do the job. Are we ready to do that right now for next year? Do we need to have somebody in to help us get started and eventually do it ourselves? And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong again, didn't we kind of try this at one time and it didn't go so well with somebody overseeing the food service through administration, and it didn't go so well because they weren't properly trained to do certain things and didn't know the ins and outs of the commodity and other situations.
But back then, Greg, if we did have problems, that was the superintendent of the district at the time should have been checking into it and seeing that she got the right training and stuff like that.
Right.
Now,
that's what I'm saying.
Is this the right time? No better time now, Greg. We're going down, and it's pretty well known fact, we're going to go back to school 2 to 3 days a week come fall, right? So no better time now to get somebody in there and train them because we're going to need them every day. They got plenty of time to do their training and still run the cafeteria, for the 2 to 3 days we're going to be feeding kids. There's no better time than now to get rid of the nutrition group and take it over on their own. Am I right or not?
Well, I can't answer the question. I mean, I don't know who would have the answers to the question is if there's time to train somebody properly. I have no idea. I wouldn't know where to even begin with that and who you would train. How do you pick that person?
Well, we put it out for like we do anything. We fill a position by putting it out for, either bid or whatever.
What's the criteria? What's the criteria to hire that person?
We list it. You got to have some kind of qualifications.
Well, there you go. But I'm saying,
or you're willing to get the qualifications.
But the way a union is you get it because of seniority. So that doesn't necessarily mean the most qualified person.
I don't think we need it as a union job, Greg. I don't.
Oh, you're talking about an admin person.
Yeah. Okay. And another thing here, nobody else is saying anything, but there's a lot of problems with the unpaid lunch accounts. It's a big problem right now. And the free and reduced lunch applications, they need to go back into schools There's a lot of stuff that we did in the past that we ain't doing with this nutrition group. And I think that would make us better too yet. You know, just putting the free and reduced lunch applications back in the school would help, I think.
What do you mean putting them back in school, Jerry?
Well, before they did it at the schools, you know, the cafeterias and stuff. Now, the nutrition group is supposed to do all the applications and stuff, and they never did it. Didn't do half the paperwork half the time, I've been told. Believe me, sir, we got a big problem with unpaid lunches. I mean, last time I counted, what was it, Connie? $116,000 in unpaid lunches. 116,000, wasn't it?
I sent that email to everybody. I'm not sure what it was now. I have to look.
In the past, when we run it ourselves, Greg, it was in the neighborhood of 12, 15,000, and now it's, you know, in the 100,000. Like I say, nutrition group run it, but yet do nothing to help us. And
I agree with you, Jerry. I'm all in favor of running it ourselves. I'm not sure how the transition will transpire between then and now. I could be wrong. I don't know how it's going to happen in that short period of time. So
we put it out as an administrative job, and then we interview and try to get the best person. And if they need training, we get them training. Like I say, no better time now. We got 2 to 3 days a week. We're going to be going to school. They got plenty of time to do their training in off days and stuff. I think now's the time that we need to act.
Hey, one last thing. I could take 5 cooks, have them all cook a steak, and maybe one of them may cook the steak right.
But and again, that comes back to who's overseeing the program. It all has to be everybody has to be on the same page with it.
We have to have somebody that wants to work with the cooks very closely and monitor them and deal with them. That's what we need. We need a person that can go out and deal with the cooks. That way she can help them get state approved menus approved. And like I say, any training we need, we could send them. The state's got them meetings. We could send them out there. Like I say, we're going down to 2 to 3 days a week. I don't think there's a better time now than to turn it over to our own people. And like I say, by our own people, let's advertise and see what we might find a professional. You never know. You never know what you get until you put it out for advertisement.
Well, if you're talking about an admin position, then it could be anybody that has the qualifications and some like
you can't have a union job. It can't be a union job. No.
I apologize. I thought that's what you were meaning. Yeah, it has to be an admin job.
Mr. Ashley, this is Rob. How long would it require someone to more or less be trained to do a position like this with your past experience?
It would almost depend on where they're at. I guess where they're at, knowledge wise to start with. You know what I mean? If you're taking somebody off the street who doesn't know, any of the regulations and all that kind of stuff, you're going to struggle for a year, maybe 2. If they have some knowledge, if they have some experience in school food service, depending on how well they absorb some knowledge,
right.
6 months, and you learn a lot in that first year. You learn, sometimes by your mistakes.
Well, and I think that's what Mr. Shoemaker was kind of referring to. If we did go with an outside vendor and we hired someone within to work with them and probably take the position over, I see it being 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Okay, Rob, I think you're forgetting one thing. Right in our office, we got a lot of experience. Was there for several years and run the cafeterias. I'm sure she'd be willing on helping if we wanted to pay her a little stipend to get the new person going. And I'm talking about Mrs. Hope. She's right in the office. I'm sure she would, if we'd give her a little stipend money, that she would work extra hard to help these new people, whoever we pick. You don't know that when we put it out, advertised out to bid, we might find a professional. You never know until you put it out there. So who's saying that we won't find a good person, you know?
Well, another item to consider is with the nutrition group, are we able just to end that contract anytime? Or is it, you know, at the end of the year when it expires?
End of year, I'm pretty sure, sir.
It ends June 30.
Okay.
Yeah, it ends this summer, June 30th.
Okay.
Then we'd have to look, I mean, if we go in-house, we would have to have someone on board soon, because the summer feeding then, who the nutrition group is running right now, that would end come June 30th. And we'd have to.
Where's the nutrition group been during this pandemic, Rob? Have they been in there?
Pardon?
What's the nutrition group been doing since we had this
Yeah,
episode?
Terry's been in the kitchens. He's
He's
been
been in the kitchen.
He's been at both kitchens. He's been delivering materials. He's been in the kitchens for sure.
Okay, but here's the one thing that nobody understands. That whoever we would get, they can't do any worse than what this nutrition group's been doing. So therefore, he'd be our person, and he'd have to answer to us, or her would have to answer to us, and we could help her through it. I still think, like I say, I don't know why everybody's so scared. You don't think we might not find the right person. You'll never know until you advertise.
Well, I don't know that it would be a big deal, but the person coming in might not know all the ropes, and so we wouldn't be like in compliance. So as Chris alluded to, we may not get our money for that year. Or was that just about commodities, Chris?
No, I mean, you can lose money, but it's typically during an administrative review, and I don't know when your administrative review, that's typically when they find those kind of problems, or if your menus aren't, certified. Those are the issues that you would typically have.
Okay.
The other thing is filing the claims timely. You're allowed once every 3 years to submit one late. If you do submit the second one late, you do not get paid for that.
You said submit claims late?
Right. What the claim is for your free, reduced, and paid students that come through, you're claiming so many, 1,000 of these, 500 of these,
Okay.
2,000 of these, and each one is, like a paid meal, or excuse me, a free meals. You get $3.50 for a reduced meal. You get $3.20 for a paid meal. You get 41 cents. So if you submit that more than once every 3 years late, the second time you do it in that 3-year period, they deny that claim.
Okay. So we wouldn't be able to recoup any money.
Right. You would not get paid for that month.
Okay.
The cafeteria committee recommended an RFP, and I think, Sarah, your suggestion for putting something in there about training the staff could work.
I think that it would, it would go a lot differently if a company came in knowing that our intention is to take over, eventually. That would just be better all around.
So bottom line, Chris, what was your recommendation after you looked at all the reports in the service?
Yeah, my recommendation was to, put it out for an RFP, just because I didn't think that the group that you had in there now was a real partner for the district.
What's your thoughts on bringing it in-house right away, Chris?
There's some risk. There's some risk, you know, again, you know, with just my experience and stuff like that, you know, there's definitely some risk involved in taking it in-house right away, with not having much time to, I mean, you're only talking, what, 45 days to the, you know, the person would basically be on their own. And that's from today, because it's what, May, June, and they would have to run the summer program and, you know, get ready for fall, get ready for the students to come back. Not sure what resources they would have at their disposal, you know, starting off with menus and things like that to start the new school year.
Chris, have you ever seen any type of a hybrid like Mr. Shoemaker was talking, where you have one in-house and a vendor?
Yeah, and it can work. If the two are in concert with one another and they're both working in the best interest of the district and the students, that can work. You know, if there is a personality conflict between the two, or, you know, mistrust, that can break down and have negative consequences.
So signing a contract with another outside group, once we sign their contract, then we're limited what we can do then. So we're powerless again, is what I'm saying. Where we got our own person in there, we have say.
I think if, depending on how the RFP is written, Jerry, it should give us power and control over that group.
They work for you.
We didn't have it with the other nutrition group. They did what they wanted. They didn't listen to the cooks. They promised me 100% when they hired them that they would definitely listen to the cooks. And you talk to all the cooks in the schools, and they gave them a cold shoulder all the time. Now, trust me, that's what I've been told.
Well, I know they've made some adjustments, Jerry, and they've met with the cooks. I think that's an ongoing meeting that they have. But I mean, you know, like Chris said, is there a personality conflict? Is there, you know, I mean, I was never there, but Rob might be able to speak to the amount that the nutrition group has listened to us and adjusted what they've done. I think they did switch vendors and stuff like that. Didn't they, Rob?
Yes, this past year, that was one of the things going into this past year that our cooks were pretty adamant on going back to Gordon's. Nutrition group did go with that, and a lot of our cooks did order stuff through Gordon's. That was one of their big issues.
Is there a recommendation from the cafeteria group committee?
Well, all I know is, I mean, when we left, I had the feeling we was maybe looking at doing like Mr. Shoemaker's suggestion. Chris, have you ever seen anything like that in a contract with a vendor that, you know, you have that person in between and eventually they may take over? But, you know, if things are going great and working well, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I mean, right now, we definitely think it's broke. We need to fix it.
Well, you know, all the contractors know that it's a 5-year contract, but it's a 1-year contract with 4 renewals. So the risk in going with a contract is really 1 year. The contractors also know that they should be earning your business every year.
Right, so they would strive to do the best they can, you would think.
You would think they would. So far a nutrition group in my mind hasn't done that for you.
Oh my God, whoa.
Correct.
So you're saying this new group's gonna definitely take care of us this time? We're gonna hire another one, and they're definitely gonna look out for our best interests like this last one, I guarantee you. Yeah, they sure will. Hey, Chris. You
Yes.
still there?
Yep.
This is Jerry again.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Why couldn't we pay you to help train our own people?
You could.
All
That
right,
was,
then. Let's
actually, sorry.
let's negotiate, buddy boy. We'll just negotiate and see what it would take for you to get our people trained and do everything proper. And we'll give you a year's contract on it. And then, after a year, when things is going good, if you're so good, then we'll be on our own.
That was actually kind of discussed at the tail end of our meeting the other day. I think Ronnie asked if Chris would be willing to help us out, and he said he would. And I think it's an excellent option, but we still have to make sure that we're in a position to be ready to serve food come fall or after June 30th for our summer program.
Right, starting in July, yes, July 1st.
Chris, the one thing I'm going to tell you is I just don't think nobody but our own people is going to take care of our students the way they should be. So if we could negotiate with you and you guide our new people the right way and train them, then I could see doing that. I'm not for a nutrition group when we could get somebody like you to train our own people. But nobody's going to take care of our students or like, our own people's going to, I'll tell you.
So Greg, when the group talked about the possibility of Chris helping us out in some capacity, what was your ending thoughts? Like, why didn't you explore that further?
This is Greg. It was kind of at the tail end of everything. We were kind of ready to be done. And I think Ronnie or someone asked Chris if he would help. And he said, absolutely. And we just kind of left it at that. But we had talked about reaching out to other vendors to put a little bit of pressure on the current nutrition group that we have. And to maybe they would hopefully step up their game for that 1 year, whatever it took to train somebody of our own. I guess, that's a great point by Jerry. If Chris is willing to do it, or for something the administration wants to do or pursue, since he's already involved and knows all the numbers and knows where the deficits lie, he could be our guy, our admin person, and then help us train somebody long-term.
Greg, this is Ronnie. I brought that up the other day at the end of the meeting because I thought I wanted to look at the cost effective. I thought, the committee agreed to go out and try to find somebody and negotiate with them. And then we'd see what we could do by bringing Chris on with someone training our people.
Yeah. You're saying Chris would be our temporary nutrition person in lieu of our own administration person.
No, he could train ours.
That's what I mean.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
He's saying that we would pay Chris to train our people.
Yeah, that's what I asked him the other day, and he said he would.
Yeah. Yeah. To help us out.
Then
But-
Rob is to negotiate a contract with him and to see if we can get him on board.
And then Chris could also be involved in the possibly the interview and hiring process.
Exactly.
I like that idea.
Yep.
I'd be for that in a heartbeat.
What do you think, Rob?
I like the idea. Well, Mr. Ashton is willing to work with us. I think it's great.
So, I mean, what you're effectively saying is we're ending the contract with the current nutrition group on June 30th. So we got to get, our ducks in a row. And if, got to get Chris, whatever he's thinking in terms of that goes, and see what happens.
I think, can we put it under new business to make a motion to have Rob negotiate with Chris on what it would cost us for him to train our people if we hire him ourselves? Could we put that under new business?
Yeah, we need to dispense with the rules and
Yeah, and then that would give Rob permission to negotiate with Chris on what it would take for him to train our people, what he would need to train them. And like I say, it can't be no worse than what we're paying a nutrition group now.
I'm just not sure it needs an action. If it's the consensus of the board, we can guide him to take that action, and then, we would need to approve the
final. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
At the next, have him do that in the next board meeting, approve whatever recommendation he has. Discuss and approve, right.
And due to the timeliness, Rob, if you feel like you would like to have a special meeting to get that, if you come up with it next week and you want a special meeting to get that action taken care of, I'm agreeable. I'm sure everybody else is too.
I think we may have to do that because with our time constraints right now, I mean, we're going to have to post the position, and then it'll have to be up for 5 days, and then interview and get someone hired, and we'll have to do a special meeting.
Why would it have to be up for 5 days?
It has to be. It would be posted.
Not a union job.
Pardon?
It's not a union job. It's an admin. You do that for admin jobs as well?
We'd have to advertise.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Not to interrupt you, Rob, but yeah, we do that all the time, sir. We like the maintenance position that Jason has. We put that out. We haven't interviewed you for it yet, but we put that out. It's a new, just new position.
Right.
The main concern is feeding the kids, and I think if we get Chris behind us and we get the right person in there, we can accomplish this.
So this is Cindy. I know that we're under a deadline because their contract is up June 30th. So I need clarification. Are you giving us approval tonight to be able to post that position, and we're looking at Chris as a consultant to help train the whole team? Is that where we're moving?
I think the consensus of the board is that as we're talking, we're kind of all in the same agreement. Something's got to be done. Sarah?
Yeah, so we're giving Rob the directive to work with Chris to work out the contract with him, and then go ahead and post the position to fill it.
Yes, I'm in agreement with that. Ronnie, Greg?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We can move on now.
Well, you're done.
Nobody else is here would say anything. Let's move on.
Hey, Chris, we will be in contact probably tomorrow.
Okay, I'll be waiting to hear.
All right. I appreciate you coming on board with us tonight.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you very much, Chris.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, next up on the superintendent's report, Rob.
All right. Next up, Mr. Clutter, you have anything?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's had a great week so far. Just happy to have all of our maintenance crew back and our bus mechanics back. We've hit the ground running here in the last couple of weeks. We've worked on, we've had some water heater issues at River. We've worked on those water line, wastewater treatment plants. We've been working on those for the spring servicing, HVAC filter changes. We've been working on those. We've been working with Train Corporation. They've come out. They've been around for a while, but they've got several different air purifiers that we're looking at to install in our air handlers throughout all the buildings in the district to help with bacteria, molds, things like that, to help reduce those. It'll help purify the air more. So I'll get with Rob. We'll get some more costs on those as they're getting me information on those now. Transportation wise, we've got our first summer bus inspection tomorrow at Woodsfield. So we're gearing up to start annual bus inspections. We'll get some more dates put together for the rest of the year for the State Highway Patrol to be there. I was contacted this past week from Monroe Achievement Center. They actually have 3 buses out there. They're the shorter buses. They're like a 20-passenger bus. They are interested in selling them to the district at a very, very discounted price to us. So we talked to Mr. Dan Lawson out there. We did go look at the buses. The 3 of them, they're in really good condition. They just need some TLC. But I think I've talked to Rob about that this week. And we're just waiting on back a little bit of an agreement from Monroe Achievement Center and see how that process goes. But other than that, we're moving right along, trying to keep up with things the best we can here. Since we got the staff back, it's much easier now than Frank and I taking care of the whole district. So things we're moving along much better now. So, Mr. Caldwell.
Jason, I had a question. I forgot. You were telling me the year of those 3 buses from Mako. Can you?
Yes. One, there's 2 of them that are 2009s, and one of them is a 2012. Like I say, the passenger capacity is 18 bodies in a seat, and they're capable of transporting 2 wheelchairs, which makes it a 20 person capacity, 20 student capacity. I think from what I've seen and what Rob and I've talked here just in the last day or two, these buses would be a great asset for us to smaller sports teams. If we would have smaller teams, you would have place in the back of those buses for equipment. And instead of us, I mean, sometimes, we have vans, which our van capability is only 9. We can't have any passengers more than 9 in the van. So these buses with the capacity of 18 bodies in a seat would give us the ability, instead of sending out a 65 passenger school bus and hauling 10 kids on it or 12 kids, we would be able to utilize these buses. So I believe they'll be a good asset to us. Yes.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes. Thank you, Rob.
Yes. I think it would be a great idea to look into that, to see if we can work out something with Mako. So if the board would like, if you can give Jason and I approval to follow through with that, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah. Dan Lawson called me. I thought I told you, Jason, that Dan called and wanted to know if you'd be interested in that. Buses out there at Mako. I thought maybe I told you or Rob, but yeah, he's wanting to get rid of them, and I think it's a good deal.
Yeah. Like I said, I met with Dan this week, and we looked at the buses, and I think it'll be a great deal for us here.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so we will look into that, and we will get back with you, and maybe have something, a proposal on the next agenda. Thank you, Jason. All right, next up, Mr. Cosley.
Yes, I'm still here. I haven't completely disappeared, but you can see I am starting to fade some. Just want to let the board know we are continuing to collect communication data from the intervention specialist and the related service providers through a Google Drive document. And we are continuing to trying to provide a good faith effort. That's what ODE is asking. And that's what I keep letting the intervention specialists know. So I think we're moving in the right direction there. Also, we still have a few IEPs that are coming due in the next few weeks. Lori Dirkus and I have been checking and entering data on a daily basis. And that's basically it. We're just continuing to finish out the year with the IEPs and try to convince the teachers to keep submitting work until the last day of school. So that's all I have, Mr. Caldwell. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kozlik? All right, thank you, Larry.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next, Mrs. Brill, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. I just wanted to share something that's happened here with some of our student groups. Our FFA association, our chapter here at Switzerland of Ohio, had an opportunity to participate at their state FFA convention. And why I wanted to share it, the FFA is the largest youth organization in the world, and they've been around for a long time. And this convention, the state convention, was canceled this year to meet face-to-face because of the COVID. And but they had an opportunity to participate in the very first ever virtual convention. And some of our students had an opportunity to participate in the workshops, which is one of the things that really makes it special if you're a student who has a chance to go to that. And they came back with some tremendous ideas that they want to incorporate locally, and they were really motivated about it. So even though the mandate from this pandemic is causing us to think about educationally differently, and you know, I know it affects things like our graduations, and we don't have those traditions that we had before. It was really cool to talk with students yesterday that had the very first opportunity ever to do a virtual convention with the largest youth organization in the world. And I just wanted to share that. I think they're working on an article to be able to put out to the community so they can get a chance to see exactly what they were learning from this, but it was really cool. And I just wanted to share that, but thank you for a little time tonight, Rob.
Hey, I hate to interrupt. We got knocked off the live stream.
Okay.
We need to.
I'm gonna try to get it back online here. If you hold on one moment, please.
Okay.
Do you want me to call a recess or just kind of hang out?
Yeah, if you guys want to take a break, I see if I can get this restarted. If not, I might have to start a new live stream.
Sarah, how long are we going to be?
Did you mean to ask Tess?
Or, yeah, either one. I was going to say I had to run to the restroom.
Oh. We'll officially call a recess.
You shouldn't drink so much coffee during the meeting.
It's Mountain Dew, Jerry.
Oh, because I've been through like two of them. It's got me so nervous. It's got me drinking black coffee at 7 o'clock at night.
Run fast, Robin. Don't twist an ankle.
Just gonna test if it works.
Is it come back? Okay.
Okay, Rob, you can pick up where you left off.
All right, we're ready to go, Tess?
I think so. It seems like it's going.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Sorry about that.
All right. Next up, Mrs. Bohatch, anything?
Well, I just want to give a big thank you to teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week last week and thank them for all of the effort, especially going above and beyond during this school closure. They're continuing to collect assignments and reach out to the students, and also starting to collect school-owned materials and return personal items to the students, all while practicing safe distances. So thank you for the teachers for all their hard work.
Mrs. Bohatch, I want to add something there also. I want to tag on to what you were saying about the teachers. They've been doing a great job. Wish them, hope they had a great Teacher Appreciation Week. And also, not just the teachers, we also had nurse appreciation. We had school bus driver appreciation. I'd like to give a shout out to all of those parties involved as well. Go ahead.
Jerry Gus, I got a question. Are you done, Mrs. Bohatch, with your report?
Yes.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Have you been looking into the Google Classroom training for all the teachers that are not familiar with it for the next school year, so they'll be ready for the next year? I know I've talked to a couple other school districts, and they're looking into it. Have you checked into it?
We have already provided some Google Classroom training throughout this year before this happened. We're going to beef that up even more. And survey just went out at the beginning of this week, I believe, that is asking teachers where their struggles are when teaching remotely, what's working, what's not, and what would they like to see for training so that we can get them better prepared. Good question.
Okay, not every student has internet. So are you making plans for these students to make their needs for getting the internet, or do you have to wait on the governor, or what do we have to do there?
No, we're working through all of those obstacles. Very challenging, but not every student has internet. Not all of our staff members have reliable internet. So we've got to work through all of those challenges. Currently this year, we provided paper pencil packets for those students who had no internet access. One thing I will say about the Chromebooks is that they will the students are able to upload their assignments when the Chromebook is attached to the school Wi-Fi, take it home, work offline, and then periodically it can be brought back to the school Wi-Fi and all of those assignments reload and submit. So with that, we're keeping that in mind as a possibility to kind of troubleshoot these areas of students that don't have access.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ms. Bohatch, anything else? Are you good?
I'm good.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, Mr. Romick, anything from your side?
Yes, Mr. Caldwell, thank you. I have a couple of things. First of all, we've passed out over 500 of the face shields, and we've received a number of thank yous on those. A couple of thank yous that we just received recently in the mail. Marietta Memorial Hospital, Tony McEwen sent us a letter thanking us for the face shields we sent down there. Also, David Harshberger of over the optometrist in New Martinsville, he sent us a thank you letter and also sent us a donation to the STEM lab to be used for materials and that. So we're thankful for that also. On the building projects we have, Swiss Hills is currently on plan. It's one of the things that we're waiting on is the sliding glass partitions. They're coming out of California and we're waiting for them to go back to work. They have about a 6-week lead time there. The sign down in front is being installed. The River High School field house is on schedule for an August 7th completion. The bottom floor has been plumbed in, masonry work is being done, and the steel is ready to be set next week. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Romick?
I do have a question, Rob.
Okay.
Mark, give us an update on the Monroe Central multipurpose facility.
Yeah, the Monroe Central multi-purpose facility is fairly, it's probably about 95% completed. Mr. Simple is looking at bringing the high floors is coming in to put the floor down out there. Also, we're looking at, we have some materials today on the agenda for both Bellsville and Monroe Central for the cardio rooms. Also, we're looking at some of the other equipment that is needed in that facility at that time. Plus, we have the STEM lab, which will cross over into PAYS, and the health class net, which Mr. Simple has 2 classrooms out in that building also.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Remick. A couple things I just wanted to touch base on, to make the board updated. One, talk to Mr. Clutter. We're going to need to get the summer mowing position and the summer bus washing positions posted. We'll probably try to do that next week. And we were going to post those on an as-needed basis. According to Mr. Clutter and myself, after discussion, I mean, some of that work has been done already, like for the bus washing and stuff, but we still need to have that position for we don't know exactly what amount of time. Also, we're going to do the summer feeding program. I mean, well, we'll have to work with Mr. Ashley now to see how we want to do that starting in July. So that's just something that will be coming up. If we continue with the summer feeding in July, we'll have to post those positions and get people in place. Next up, I wanted to ask the board if they wanted the administration to continue looking towards athletic trainers. We may have some interest now that college graduates are graduating, and we just want to know if the board would like for us to continue looking into that area. So is there anybody that comment on there? All right. Well, I'll take that in with no objections, then we will continue to look into that and see if we can gather some interest and then get back to you.
Sounds good.
Last thing I have is the high school graduations. We've been discussing it for the past 4 weeks or so, and we finally finalized things, and we have things approved through the Monroe County Health Department. We'll be handing out diplomas on May 22nd. That is a Friday. They're going to do diplomas one family at a time. There'll be a limited number of family attendees that can come with the graduate, because there's also going to be the principal, a few others, a photographer, a videographer, and so on. They will do that starting at 9 in the morning, and they're expecting that to continue until approximately 1:30 in the afternoon on Friday. Then Friday evening, they're going to have a drive-in graduation ceremony where everyone will remain in their cars. There'll be 1 car per family, the graduate, and whatever family members are in the vehicle with the graduate. And that will take place at the Bellsville parking lot at 7 o'clock in the evening. Monroe Central is going to do the hand out diplomas on May 23rd. That is a Friday, or I'm sorry, that's Saturday. They're going to do it the same way as Bellsville, with 1 family at a time, and people will have a schedule and be told when to arrive, where to enter, where to exit, and so on, just like Bellsville. And River High School will be doing the same thing on the same day. It will be on Saturday, the 23rd. And both River and Monroe Central are looking at their time as approximately from 9 o'clock to 3 or 4 in the afternoon. With that being said, we would like, I know the principal was wanting to know if any of the board members was wanting to attend. Because if so, they're going to have to make sure, we'll have to make sure that the families know how many they are limited to when they walk into the gym. Like I said, again, Bellsville is 9 to 1:30 on Friday, and Monroe Central and River High School will be from 9 to approximately 4 o'clock on Saturday. I didn't know if the board members wanted to maybe take shifts. That way, instead of one person being there the entire day, they could schedule some time and take shifts throughout the course of the day.
Are you talking about it to hand out the diplomas?
Well, the probably won't be handing out the diplomas and, you know, handing hand to hand. I'm guessing what they'll probably be doing is someone will just go set the diploma on a table, walk away, the graduate will walk up, pick it up, and then they'll do some photos. And then when they exit, the next family will be prepared to enter the gym at that time. They are going to have sheriff's deputies in attendance or on the grounds. And they'll also have custodians in attendance to wipe anything that may need wiped down after a family had left and another family is entering. We're hoping, weather permitting, that all the doors can just remain open. That way no one has to touch a door. They can just walk straight in. And all the doors are open. No one will have to touch a door handle, doorknob, or anything for that matter.
So they'll be wearing their cap and gown then?
Yes.
Okay. Question, what do we do? You said one vehicle per family. What if we have a divorced situation?
Well, that's going to be at Bellsville and Bellsville only. It's going to have the drive-in that evening.
Okay.
Mr. Tolza got the word out for families like that. He told them that they will call in and get permission to possibly have a second vehicle.
Okay.
And that will be a case-by-case basis. And Mr. Tolza has to approve that before it can be done.
Rob, Jerry, Gus.
Yes.
The governor, he's opened up everything now. Why can't we have a normal graduation ceremony? As long as we do that social distancing, I don't see no reason why we can't have a normal graduation ceremony. Is it against the law or what?
Well, ODE, Ms. Bohatch, if you want to chime in on this, I know you got some information on this as well. But at the recommendation of ODE and the governor, there are three main ways of graduation. They wanted to either be a virtual or a drive-in. They were definitely against any type of formal, like what we call a regular, normal graduation. Even if even if it was in a stadium and you could keep social distancing. They wanted to keep it from 10 people or less in a gathering. Go ahead. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that sums it up. So they were very clear on what the three options were for us to move forward with graduation.
So Rob, the letter that we got from Mr. Triffanoff of trying to do it on the football field, that's not going to happen?
He has not heard anything back. No.
Okay.
Did we receive a letter?
I didn't receive no letter. Did you, Sarah?
No. I saw one posted on Facebook.
Yeah, someone sent that to me too.
Yeah, I got it through email, I believe. It was just, copies of a letter from Mr. Triffanoff to the governor, to our senator and representative.
I would think his letter would go to Rob.
I think he was, I don't know how to say it. He was asking the state if that was allowable. And that's why I asked Rob, because of what ODE suggested, your three options. And I guess I assumed that was denied. And then he said he hasn't heard anything back yet.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Triffanoff afterwards. He actually had a conversation with Jack Serra and Frank Hoagland. They said they were going to email the governor And as of this time, Mr. Triffenoff has not heard anything back. So our plans are to move forward with the handing out of diplomas, just like I mentioned, on the 22nd at Bellsville and on the 23rd at Monroe Central and River High School.
Rob, at the time that was discussed or decided, or even Mrs. Bohatch, you could answer this maybe. Did we have the reopening dates for like the gyms and the horse racing and pools, sports leagues? That was, I mean, somebody just sent it to me on Facebook, and that stuff is opening May 26th. Horse racing's the 22nd, campgrounds the 21st. So, I mean, have we revisited it with the Department of Ed and the governor since then?
No, no one has, and we haven't gotten any directive. Usually we get an email if there's going to be a change. We haven't received anything. I mean, we could follow through with what we're doing now, and if we hear something between now and then, we could maybe shift gears and go another direction. But as of right now, I think our principals are pretty set in moving forward with what their plans are.
What they've submitted.
So what I was getting at then again was if any board member wants to attend any of those graduations, like I say, if you want to do it in shift or someone wanted to attend one the entire day, please let us know, and we will communicate that to the principals. Again,
Jerry,
like I said, though,
Jerry, attend, Rob.
Pardon? Go ahead, Jerry.
I said I want to attend everyone I can.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. I would think the maximum we'd want would be one board member there, because if we have too many, then that's going to take family members out of the equation.
Well, we can rotate or something.
Right. Okay. That's what I was saying. If you wanted to take shifts.
If anybody else wants to, we can talk about rotation.
Yeah, I'm interested in attending them. I usually attend them all, but I don't want to knock anybody out either. So
right.
You just let me know what.
Yeah, just put up where you think we should be. And I mean, just kind of.
Like I said, Bellsville's on Friday. So, I mean, everybody could attend that in a shift or whatever. The conflict we're going to have is Monroe Central and Rivers the same day and the same time, roughly 9 to 3. So if one or two board members wanted to attend one and 2 or 3 wanted to attend the other, or someone wanted to go to one for a while in the morning and maybe drive to the other location in the afternoon. If you guys want to see what you can schedule and communicate through email or text or whatever, and then get me what you would like to do, and I will see that the principals have that information. But it might be a little difficult to make the plans right now this evening. I mean, I don't know if there's time or not.
Rob, this is Jennifer. I just also wanted to add that as part of the directive from ODE, schools are to work with the local health department, and that has been occurring so that they can have the approval of the safe distance and location and everything too. So all of our schools have been working closely with the local health department.
Yes, they definitely have. Thanks. All right, so if you want to figure out which one you want to attend, or if you want to do Bellsville on Friday and one of the others on Saturday, just email me that information. And if 2 of you happen to be at the same location at the same time, you may take turns. One while one family's in there and then exit, and then another board member can enter when the following family's coming in. All right, well, with that being said, Mrs. Smith, that wraps up the superintendent's report.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome.
I think this would be maybe the best place to say, as I just have a something to bring up, a little bit of an update. There were comments, I'm sure you guys heard the Bloom Daddy broadcast when he brought up Switzerland High Local School District. There were a couple points that he brought up that aren't exactly accurate. I think that we would do well to educate, the public, and not necessarily respond directly to him, but get the truth out there and clear up some of the misinformation that was given to him. I just wanted to see the board's feelings on that. All right, and hearing nothing, we'll go on. We're on the agenda. Are there any questions or problems with the consent, any items on the consent agenda? Jerry, you got anything on the consent?
No, ma'am.
Ron?
No.
Greg?
He's still muted.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a question, just was reading through here, the approval of the updated Dell computers, that's just being new. Like, I'm assuming that's just updating equipment of stuff that we have that's old and we're just getting new for the kids to use. On 12, approval of updated Dell Chromebook for the CDI technologies.
Greg, this is Jennifer. I can answer that. Yes, that's updating because some of the Chromebooks will run out of their cycle of updates. And so every 4 or 5 years, those have to be replaced. So that is being able to maintain the one-to-one all the way through K-12 and make sure that we have equipment that is going to be in working order.
Okay, I assumed, I just was curious. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda. This is Ronnie.
I second Jerry.
Okay, voting is open. Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Goss,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
All right, yes.
Rob, are you there?
Yes.
I had a question and I just saw it, which I'm okay with it, but something to consider, and to the rest of the board also, and anyone else listening, that as far as tickets, something I've thought about over the years, and maybe some way we can get kids involved and quote unquote get some kids off the street. And Rob and I think we've talked about this before, is the possibility or potential to let students in free to athletic events with a proper ID to kind of draw more kids into events, as opposed to them, give them something to do, where kids would say I can't go to the games because I don't have the money or whatever. Just a thought, something to think about. I don't know how much money we make on kids going to athletic events. But I think it might help us in terms of our numbers. Maybe one or two kids would be interested in playing a sport or an activity by going and watching and, having the opportunity where maybe they can't because of a financial issue. Just a thought.
Jerry Gus, I'm in total agreement with you, Greg.
Okay. It's definitely worth looking into, yes. And I know Monroe Central's already working on that at the time through PBIS incentives. So that's something they definitely have in motion, hopefully for next year.
Yeah, and just as a parent, as a lot of us have been or are, Maggie had that, and she was excited about using her 10 spots up to go to certain events. And it's a few bucks here or there, but a few bucks here or there for parents also when you got multiple children that want to go to games. And if they're all in the district and they're interested, you're dropping $50 to get into events at times. And that's going to possibly even get more parents out to support and be active. So.
Yeah, right now, Greg, this is Jerry again. I think we got the money and we could afford to do it now. In the future, if we don't have the money, then we can go back and, look at it again. But right now, I think we could afford to do it, and it might get more kids interested.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Hey, this is Ronnie. I agree, but I think if you'd ask Mark Romick, I think he done it in the past.
Mr. Romick, you still out there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've done a number of different things in that, and we've done dollar nights and some different things during the year. I think it's a great idea, and I think that Jerry probably hit it on the head. Well, if the board has the money, the board could supplement that for the athletic departments. I know the athletic departments rely upon those ticket sales in order to generate things for the kids. So it's kind of a quandary there, but there are different nights. I know Mr. Simple at Woodsfield, he has some donors that give him money last year and everything that made it available for the kids to be able to come into the games free. So I think there's a lot of ways you could look at it, different things you can look at that would be beneficial.
Yeah, and let's be honest that everybody knows that there's money in the district now, and you would be a good faith gesture to a certain point to say, let's reward our children for, being the good kids they are, and let them in these events for nothing, and recognize them. That we've said it how many times that they are why what we do, and they're the most important part of this whole equation. So.
Right. I think I know last year even it's kind of odd. It runs with different groups. Some years you'll have a large amount of students attend games. Last year at one of the games, we gave it was a free night promotion basically for kids to come in, and we just kept track, and Mr. Triffenoff said, keep track and I'll reimburse you somewhat. And we didn't even do that. But I think we only had 20 or 25 students come to the game. They were all permitted in free. So it runs different each year with the kids. But I think there are a lot of kids. There are some kids out there, Mr. Shoemaker, you're right, that with an opportunity to come to the game, they would come and watch a game.
Yeah, and being a coach, that sometimes that one or two more students that participate just make a significant difference in the outcome of success, whether it's success on the field, on and off the field, or that one person that isn't at the ball game and maybe doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and you've changed a life. That could be the first step to put somebody on the right path, and that's an easy step to take.
Mr. Caldwell, is there something, would you like for us to try and draw up something or to look at something for next year?
Yeah, we probably need to get together, have a athletic council meeting and bring that up and brainstorm and come up with some ideas. I think that's a good thing to do, definitely. Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, back to you, Mrs. Smith.
Okay,
Hey,
Connie,
another question. How about the teachers getting in free too as well? Can we look into that? The teachers and staff? Mr. Romy, can we look into that?
I'm sorry, I was muted there.
I'm saying, how about the teachers and staff? Can we look into about them getting in free too as well?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we could look at also with the athletic council.
Thank you.
okay, we're on old business. And we have the second and final reading of the policies up first. Is there any questions or issues with those policies? Jerry,
No, ma'am.
Ronnie,
No.
Greg?
No.
My only concern is that Bev is not here to give input for the second reading. I didn't have a chance to check with her, but I'm sure, Rob, are you agreeable if she had any problems, we could put them back on the agenda in June?
Yeah, yeah, we could always put it back on.
Okay,
That wouldn't be a problem.
all right. I'll make a motion, we accept these policies.
I second. Jerry Gus.
Okay, voting is open. Jerry, is your box popping up?
Box.
Yeah, to
No.
vote?
No, it isn't.
Okay, you want to vote yes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I gotcha. Okay, Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Motion carries. I'm sorry, I'm trying to. The next item is the school course catalog. Is there any discussion on or questions on the catalog attached? Jerry, you have any questions or discussion?
No, ma'am.
Ronnie,
No.
Greg?
Good.
Great.
Hey, Jennifer, Jerry, can I ask a quick question, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All these new courses you're offering, are you going to have the teachers for it?
Well, that's why we have the check boxes indicated. So each building could mark off whether they have a teacher or plan to hire a teacher that can teach those courses.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Ronnie. I'll make a motion we accept.
This is Jerry, I second.
Okay, voting is open. Jerry, how you want to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes. And that motion is carried and that we're done with old business. On to new business with the new policies. Rob, how many readings are you having on these policies?
We were planning to do 2, so, but if we need to, after the second one, we want to carry it forward for a third one, we could do that.
Okay. Jerry, you have any questions or issues on these policies?
No, ma'am.
Ronnie?
No.
Greg?
No.
All right, let's go on to number 2. We don't need an action on that. Discussion and appointment of the superintendent's audit committee. Rob, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, this is after discussion with Connie. She is recommending that we come up with a superintendent's audit committee. And I was just going to ask the board which 2 board members would like to be on that committee.
I'll do it. This is Greg.
Greg, you will?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can be on if nobody else wants it, Rob. This is Jerry.
Okay.
If somebody else wants it, that's fine with me though.
All right. I got your names down. Thank you.
it says that it's an action item, but I will revise that not to make it action.
Thank you, Connie. And then Mrs. Smith, the next one up, District Records Commission. That would be the same thing. We would like to have board members volunteer to be on that committee as well.
What does that entail, Rob?
Connie, can you elaborate on that really?
According to the policy, it says it's established consisting of board president, treasurer, and superintendent of schools with law to judge the visibility of destroying district records. So it's basically a committee that if you need to destroy records, it's just a commission. And it says they'll meet at least once every 12 months. But this was one of the recommendations from James, our auditor. The audit report was just a suggestion to set up this commission.
Or committee.
Committee, yeah.
And you say board president is one of them, so.
Board president, treasurer, and superintendent. So
do we need
that's
another?
what our policy has.
Okay. So it's not required for a second board member then?
No, just one.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. All right, number 4, we are on discussion and approval of district CTE program exercise science cardio equipment, and quotes from
Yeah, that's the cardio equipment that will be going into Bellsville and Monroe Central for their exercise phys classes. I think Mr. Romy worked with Mr. Semple and Mr. Tolsda, and I think he actually went out and got a bulk bid. Mr. Romy, you're still there. You want to elaborate on that, how we got that bid?
Yes, sir. We went to 2 or 3 different companies, and I met both with Mr. Semple and Mr. Tolsda to see what was needed in the Monroe Central multi-purpose building, plus out at Bellsville. Mr. Tolsda is going to use the equipment down at the field house to offer a CTE class at the end of the day there. That would be open for their students. Also, Mr. Semple will be using it, and Mr. Triffnoff will be using it at River. We combined those bids because the machinery and the machines are basically the same types of machines. We were able to save quite a bit through Pro Maxima with that quote. Each quote varies a little bit because of what each one wanted. We've also added in some things for the cardio part of it so that the students will have the availability of a number of different things. Size is a problem in some places. Everybody has a little bit of different space. Different people wanted a few different things. Mr. Tolsda, for example, they wanted a Smith machine. So you will see that on their quote. So each quote's a little bit different, but the basic of everything is pretty much similar. Any questions on any of the quotes or anything?
No question from Jerry.
My only concern is the allegedly temporary cuts in our budget, and when are we going to need this equipment? When will we be back in regular operation?
Very valid point. And the biggest thing too, that is the future is so uncertain right now. We don't know what's going to happen. The one thing that we do know, and the one fear of, is that much like if you look at meat prices right now, they've just ballooned out of this world if you try and buy hamburger. And I think the same is going to hold true with a lot of other items that we're trying to purchase. I don't think we're going to get much lower of a quote at this point, and it's only going to go up. I know that the governor is promoting some of the distancing measures, but now I see he's opening up gyms here on May 26th. So, hopefully, we don't know what the future holds. But, we hope that we're back in August and everything's running the same way it was last August.
Thanks, Mark.
Connie, question for Connie. What's your thoughts on all this money they're wanting to approve here, 4, 5, and 6? Connie, can we afford them now, or should we wait, or what? 4, 5, and 6 are different projects there they want money for now.
Later on, we'll be discussing the forecast. With the uncertainties of everything, and right now the cash balance is there. I don't know, none of us know what the governor is going to do as far as budget cuts for fiscal year 21. So obviously I cannot forecast that because I don't know what's going to happen. But right now we do have the cash But if something happens and we do not receive the revenue, like we're projecting to receive because of all these uncertainties, then we're going to need the cash that we have in our account to operate.
So right now, when we're getting our best price, we should go for it. Then I think what you're saying, is that right?
Well, what I'm saying is the money is there right now, but there are so many uncertainties right now that we don't know what's coming down the road. I don't know what the governor's going to do about budget cuts. That's hard to forecast and hard to model with not knowing what's happening.
Based on, this is Greg, based on what you're saying, Connie, I understand what Mark's saying about maybe it's the best prices now. I think
Correct.
that's speculation, but things could rise and fall like gas prices do all the time. Based on what you're saying, would we be better off holding off on certain purchases to get a clear picture of what the state might do down the road? Because I don't think anything is what these purchases aren't an absolute need right now, are they? I feel a little bit uncertain myself in terms of spending any money if that is an issue that could come back to haunt us. We've talked about several things before. Is the money's there now, but do we spend it all now with the uncertainty of maybe it'll be less later? In terms of later next year?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning with you, Greg and Ronnie. Greg and Sherry. I would rather be a little bit cautious now. We've got, stuff coming up that are going to require financial consideration. We don't know what the full effect of COVID is on our oil and gas revenue. That's not something we can see. The interest rates are a little up in the air. I mean, I don't mean to be sounding scary. I just feel like we need to be cautious.
What would another month do to that, Connie? Could we see something in the next month that could clear the picture?
It depends on how soon the governor or things might be announced for the fiscal year 21 budgets. I'm hoping to hear something by the end of the month on possibly what that sounds like or what that's going to look like. The fourth quarter numbers for the mineral productions are not available yet. The website is down right now. It's permanently down. I think they're reworking something to get that back up and running. But the fourth quarter numbers are not in, so I don't know what of last year. So I'm not sure what that will look like. So I'm hoping, yes, by the end of May, our biggest thing will be revenue from oil and gas, how that's been affected, and the state budget is the big one, I would say, because I don't know what he's going to do. The forecast is coming a couple items away, but by law, I have to have something submitted and to ODE by the end of May. So that's why I have it on here. If we do end up having a special meeting for the other item, and if I know something by then, I can always do a revised. I can bring it back then and have it reapproved and then resubmitted to the state. But I'm hoping to hear something. I mean, I hope we all hear something by the next couple weeks at least to know what he's doing, because we're getting close to fiscal year 21. I do know that there's districts out there that have put a halt to any spending that they may thought about doing or project any projects that they're doing right now. So I mean, that might be another district that doesn't have the oil and gas revenue, but not knowing how that's going to affect us either. This virus is going to affect that. I mean, we're relying on it right now, but who knows what's going to happen with it. I wish I had a better answer.
This is Jerry Gus. So we built these buildings, but we can't exercise in them because we don't have no equipment. You know, I think we need to complete these two projects, and then, you know, anything after that, you know, I could say, we got Bellsville built, we got Monroe Central built. I mean, it's not going to be a great burden money-wise on them two projects to equip them so we can use them, is what I'm saying. You know, I just feel that we should move on this because of that reason. We're building new buildings, but we can't use them because we don't have the proper equipment in them. I mean, how much money we talking on both 4 and 5?
64,000, Jerry. This is Ronnie.
Okay, on which one's that? On Bellsville or the CTE program?
Yeah.
27,000, 28,000.
No, I take it back. It's 80.
About 80, and that would
Yeah.
have both the new buildings up and running. Is that right? You know,
Yeah.
the Central building needs equipment, and Bellsville, the new field house needs equipment to make it proper. I think we need to go ahead and approve these tonight, and then anything else we should maybe hold off on, but that's my own opinion. It's up to you. I can't see spending all that money on these buildings and not, you know, justifying we can use them. It's kind of hard. Rivers too, you know, we done approved it to do it.
That's
So,
what I'm saying, Jerry.
it's
We
kinda-
already went over, we looked at it, we seen it was better at Bellsville. And these other classes they put it in, we got the room to put them in, and I don't see why we can't do it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing. Anything after that, you know, I'll say hold off. But we got these and started already, and they're ready to be open. You know, I hate to see us not be able to use them. And Rose Central, you know, has been forever trying to get that building. Now that we got it pretty well near completion, all it takes is a little equipment, and the kids could use it. I think it'd be a good time to take care of that. It's my opinion.
Jerry and Ronnie, one of the benefits and with this program is they are CTE programs. They are funded at a little bit higher level through the state. So, you know, it's an opportunity. Those two programs, it's right about $28,000 for the exercise equipment for those two, for Bellsville and Woodsfield.
Yeah. But like in 5, Bellsville's offering this equipment, asking for this equipment too, Mark. Now, some of this equipment, if we approve 4, is going to be already in there in their original asking, right?
Yes, correct. And
That's
Mr.
what-
Hughes, I know will be coming in the near future with that to finish that. You're correct.
See, that's what I'm saying. We need to go ahead and move forward on 4 and 5. My opinion is so we can open the buildings to the students and you know, we've done spent all this money. It ain't that much more. I mean, if you're talking $250,000 or so, it's a little bit different than 80,000. You know.
I would have to agree, Mr. Gus. I recommend that as well.
I'll make a motion. We accept number 4, approve it. This is Ronnie.
Jerry Gus, second.
Okay, voting is open. Mr. Winkler? Mr. Winkler? Ronnie, you're muted.
Might be a good thing, Connie.
Hey, yeah. Yes.
Mr. Gust?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Motion carries. That brings us to number 5.
I just want to tell you, my Zoom went down.
Number 5.
This is Ron again. I'll make a motion to accept number 5. Oh, I'm sorry, Greg.
I just have a quick question, and this is just maybe comments more than anything. Looking through the Bellsville field house needs, which, I'm all for that, with the kids and stuff. But I know from being involved in sports in this district for a long time, certain things can be built, donated, community type outreach programs. And I know that because we did it at Monroe Central for 30 years and have an excellent field house for the kids at football. And I'm just saying, did anybody look into possible community, maybe building lockers or anything like that prior to getting any of this?
Jerry Gus will speak on it, Buildings and Grounds. When I met with them, they kind of exhausted all their free money, all their donation money and everything. They're to the point where, the public's donated so much and the companies, and they said they can't get no more donations. They're kind of donated out over there. So, you're not looking at a great amount of money to finish this project.
No, I just, again, that was more of a comment than anything, or, a suggestion that, I know it can be done. I know it takes time. I know that when you have the money, it's easy to say, to ask for it. But when you don't have the money, people still find a way of coming up with it. You know what I mean, Jerry? So I'm just making sure that, like you said, all avenues were exhausted prior to look into.
Yeah. Well, we talked with Casey. If you ask Ronnie, we talked to Casey and some of the boosters and stuff over there, and they was telling us that they're pretty well exhausted all their free benefits. Is that right, Ronnie?
Yeah, yes, that's right, Jerry. If you look, they already had donations, I think $500 for lockers over there to help out.
Mr. Shoemaker, I know that I talked with Mr. Tolston and because he'd showed me the list and everything. And I know that even with on that list, I know that Steve Johnson over there, he does a lot of things for that school, and he's doing a lot of things with them for very, very, very cheap. And I know that Bellsville, they'd figured up what they'd had in donations and everything. And I believe, Mr. Caldwell, if I'm correct, they were well over $200,000 that they've had different donations, in-kind donations and different things. You have a valid point there, but I think they're kind of like a lot of people. They have, like Mr. Gus said, exhausted a lot of avenues that they had.
Yeah, you're right, Mr. Remick. Mr. Tolza said it was like 200 and some thousand or so that they, in the past years, they've gotten in through donations and stuff. That's definitely appreciated. Yeah, I would have to agree. And I also agree about Steve Johnson over there. He does a lot of work for them as well. And I know he, wasn't for him, we'd probably be paying a higher price than what we are.
Yeah, I get it. I just know I've been around and dealt with this thing for a lot of years. But I think the main thing too, as Mark, and Rob, anybody that's been involved with this type of thing, the biggest thing is, once you get this stuff, it looks great the first day, but if you don't take care of it, it can go bad in a hurry because kids don't take care of things. So there has to be an emphasis put on maintenance, and not from our maintenance department, would be coaches, students, administration at that particular school. And I'm not just talking Bellsville, I'm talking all 3 main high school campuses, to take care of their equipment. So they're not coming out, with their hand out in 2 years saying, well, we need new lockers in the field house, or we need new benches.
Oh, that's
Greg, this is Jerry Gus. We've discussed that in the past here. And the solution I come up with is we own the buildings, then we maintain it and clean them. And that's what we've been talking about, hiring janitors, and well, even right now at Bellsville, they send janitors over for so many hours a day to clean their new field house, so we've been talking about that. But my theory is we own the buildings, we build them, we maintain them, we clean them. If it costs us to do it, then, we have to do it. We can't expect the football coach to be a janitor. We can't expect the players. I mean, I understand he ought to, have good training techniques for the boys to, maybe put all their garbage in the waste paper basket and pick up after herself. But as far as maintaining and cleaning it, I think that's on us.
Well, I don't mean cleaning. I'm saying taking care of what you have and have a little pride in your building and your grounds.
Totally.
I think Mr. Shoemaker's talking more about equipment and stuff like that. You know, keeping it up to date.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You better believe it.
Take care. You slamming weights around, chipping paint on walls by dropping something, being careful, and that comes with supervision and other things like that. But yeah, not cleaning the trash cans or toilets or anything. I'm talking about taking care of your lockers. Not feeding things up, and have a little pride in what you have. You're spending a lot of money, and that's the way I feel about it. If it's my responsibility to okay this allocation of funds to give these kids, someone needs to be responsible to make sure that that's taken care of.
Right. And I'm thinking, it's the coaches and ADs at the schools. They should, force that issue.
Correct.
That needs to be a point of emphasis.
Yes.
Right.
Valid point. Your athletic directors, principals, and everybody has to have a watchful eye over everything that's being bought and being used, and make sure that it, 3 years from now, it looks like it was just bought.
Correct. And, and I say this only because I was involved here at Monroe Central, but that field house was built in 1988, and you walk in it today and it looks like it was built yesterday. It's been maintained, it's been painted, it's been taken care of. And that's just pride in the situation. And I think Casey will do an outstanding job at Bellsville. He's got, the pride that it takes. I just wanted to make that comment for everybody to hear that it's been said, and that, it's up to us to make sure it happens.
I agree, Greg, but that's one of the reasons that River went down 40 years of neglect down there. So we have
you're right. You have to collect
the neglect.
Right.
So we got to make sure it don't happen in the future.
I would hope not, Jerry. I'd hope not.
The only thing, or one of the things that I'm concerned with, is that I think there's a washer and dryer on that list. I don't want the old, well, now Bellsville's got it, so River needs it. They want a washer and dryer. I think we might be farther ahead to consider giving them a budget each year, and they get X amount of money, and how they spend it is up to them. And when they're done with that for the year, they're done.
Yeah, you're talking like after the initial is done, Sarah?
Yeah, well, for any athletic, because, you're going to get into the problem of, they're coming back, Monroe Central and River. Now they see that we've bought a washer and dryer for Bellsville, so now they're going to want one. And this is, I'm sure there was a project ahead of this that somebody else got something, and so now they need to keep up to speed with the other. We are trying to do things equitable, not evenly, equitable.
Right.
I will speak to that, Sarah. That's a great point, because your athletic budgets are based basically on ticket sales, and everybody else goes out and kind of begs and borrows and asks people for donations. There are some years in which your athletic ticket sales may not be very high, so you have to scrape and scrounge and that, and it's a lot like Mr. Shoemaker said. Sometimes you just don't have the people that can afford to go to a game. If there's 4 games in a week, you have to pick and choose.
Right.
It kind of, sometimes the athletic departments are they're kind of limited in what they can do.
Yeah. I know from coaching volleyball, from the gate sales from volleyball to football is quite different.
Yes, your two main sports are football and boys basketball. Generate the highest amount of revenue. It's just like the major college sports. It's the same way. Girls basketball and volleyball usually generate a profit. They carry all the other sports, and that's just the way it works. And unfortunately, but you know that's how the athletic ticket sales run.
I'll make a motion to approve the Bellsville High School fieldhouse improvements.
I second Jerry Gus.
Okay, voting is open. Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Smith,
Sorry, I was
you're
muted.
fine.
Yes.
Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
I just want to say there's a bad storm brewing in my house, so if I lose connection, that's why.
It's in the whole county, I think, Connie.
You better believe it. Y'all see it here.
Yeah, the wind's really picked up here.
We're on number 6, the Swiss Hills Career Center restroom renovation bids.
Yeah, these are for the restrooms at Swiss Hills at some of the programs, and then the main restrooms as you enter the building right there off to your right. You have a male and female restroom. We actually have Mr. Van Way on the meeting with us. Elaborate on the bids.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for everybody, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to the bids. As Mr. Caldwell mentioned, we did receive bids on Friday, the 8th. It involves the two main public restrooms right inside the door, making those fully handicap accessible and updating those, the toilet partitions, the flooring, painting the walls, bringing them up to current appearance and standards. Also in the base bid, we have the restrooms for the construction trades and the welding. Again, fully making the restroom showers fully handicap accessible and lockers as well. And then we also bid the other two labs, the old ag lab and the construction trades, as alternates. So we've got pricing for all 4 labs and then the 2 group restrooms. And with that, it would make them all handicap accessible if all the alternates are accepted. We did receive 5 bids, which was encouraging. In the past few projects, it's been difficult to get a lot of interest, but we did have 5 bids. Our opinion of probable construction cost for the base bid was $259,000. We actually had 3 of the 5 bids come in under estimate, 1 slightly above, and then there was a outlier quite a bit higher. So the low bid received was $224,975 for the base bid work. And like I said, that is a little bit more than 10% below the estimate. We also had the carpentry lab and the AG ag lab restroom as bid as alternates. And the carpentry lab restroom was $81,180. And the ag lab was $36,355. So all in all, they were very good bids. Like I said, 3 were under our opinion of probable cost. I think what we're seeing is everybody's getting a little bit hungrier out there, and uncertainty with a lot of projects have slowed down or been suspended, both on the design side and on the construction side.
I'd like to know, it's Jerry Gus, I'd like to know who submitted these bids. Whenever the Buildings and Ground committees, me and Ronnie, we was never consulted about this. And that was one thing that they come to us all the time on any new bids. And actually, we're supposed to have prints. And we told Jason in the past that, you know, we want to see these prints before you put it out for bid. And we was never consulted any way, shape, or form on these, me and Ronnie. And I was like, no, who's behind this, you know, putting it out for bid and everything without any consulting with us.
I can help out a little bit on that. Those were done last fall when Miss Riley was on the board. It was okayed by the board.
To look into bids for, I mean, then, but did we have a Buildings and Ground committee then, Mark?
That was before we did the Building and Grounds. It was last.
Yeah. And then also Jason, who's head of that department right now, you know, we told him that we wanted to see any new drawings and stuff. Jason, you never consulted me or Ronnie were, you know, asked about the drawings or anything. What reasons that?
I was not, Jared, I was not involved in that project. I did not work with that project. Mark worked with that project, and maybe Cindy and Linda. I was not involved in that project at all until the prints were done and completed. I had nothing in that project.
Well, I just know you're asking for money and money and money out there. And I just looked on the student report. We're down to 142 out there. And every meeting, it seems like you're coming and asking for another $250,000, $500,000 for this or that. So my opinion is we got to slow down until we see what's going on with the finances. But I'm just one person.
Actually, I think this was last fall sometime. We had a board meeting at Swiss Hills, and that's when we actually toured the building. I think, Mr. Rummick, you were right. That was when Mr. Riley was on the board. I don't know if it was a meeting or so after that, I think, if I recall, we were given the okay to go ahead and put that out for bid. And I think that's when we got Mr. Van Way involved.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Caldwell. It went before the board last fall and was voted on.
Yeah, Mark, I think that was at the July 19th board meeting, looking at the Gantt chart.
Okay, yes, it was even earlier than I thought. I knew that. I think maybe the bids came back in toward the fall.
When did the bids come back in?
But they actually just came back in. The actual construction bids for construction came in Friday. We'd started the design and the field work over the summer. After the July meeting, we'd started doing our field work. And then just in terms of priority, we were wrapping up the innovation lab. And we knew that, you know, in a normal year, we wouldn't be ripping up restrooms during the school year. So that's why it was phased for now, you know, to receive the bids and then be a summer project. We didn't really know that there wouldn't be anybody in the buildings now, but that's why the sequence was a little bit slower than normal. just because we knew if we finished it up in November, we really wouldn't want to tear up all your restrooms while the school was still in session. So that's why it was sequenced to start and receive bids in May.
It seems like every meeting here lately is Swiss Hills needs more money all the time. I don't understand why.
Well, we have to also remember Swiss Hills was the only building that wasn't renovated or new. I mean, so they are more or less, what we're looking at is make them handicap accessible and be compliant.
And this is Cindy. Rob, if I can speak to, I might be able to help. When we walked, we did tours when we took the board through there to look at those facilities, but there's a safety issue too. Some of those laboratory facilities not only being in compliance with ADA, but they weren't even, when we were looking at the safety of the female students who are now populating those programs out there that maybe back in the day when the building was built, didn't have those kinds of equity numbers across the sexes. So safety wise, we have to take a look at them. Second of all, I often hear we throw out the number of 100 and some students out there, but we have to remember that those numbers will always be small in Career Tech because of it being a hands-on program and the type of equipment that is there. You know, the numbers won't be 25 in a classroom because those are guidelines given by the state to be able to manage those laboratories, first of all. But second of all, also remember that those students bring in supplemental monies that a general ADA or a general student in a gen ed class won't generate. And the reason why the state does that is because they know they are expensive programs to maintain. So those students bring in money to help take care of this. And then lastly, you know, like Rob said, it's the last building we haven't looked at. It's woefully behind having an update to it. So, you know, those are quality students that are sitting out there with quality programs. And I think we really need to look at their academic environment that they sit into so that they have the best success at their programming too.
So, Mrs.
Jerry, though, most importantly, we've got to look at compliance and safety. And that's where these bathrooms are coming in.
Okay, Mrs. Brill, so you're saying that the school won't pass inspection if we don't do this now, is that right?
I don't know exactly what you're meaning because that's a pretty broad question, but if we look at those bathrooms, they are not handicap accessible.
So will it pass inspection if we don't do this? That's all I'm asking. Very simple question.
If you were to walk in the bathrooms, yes, that is correct. They are not ADA compliant. On top of that, there are no female bathrooms in those laboratories.
So what you're saying is they won't pass inspection. Am I right or wrong? That's all I'm saying. Will they pass inspection?
I guess I'm saying which inspection are you talking about, but correct, they won't pass inspection for ADA compliance.
State inspections, they do them all the time. Will it pass the state inspection?
Well, what I think, you know, from a design standpoint and my experience is when we talk into ADA, that's not really the building code. It is run and the jurisdiction is through the Justice Department. And what will happen, what potentially happens in a accessibility issue is the building department's not going to have a concern. But if you have a handicapped student or individual that raises a concern, they don't go to the building department who, you know, regularly inspects a facility. They'll go to the Justice Department. I've had to help out, actually helping out a village right now, just in a park setting where a claim had been brought against them. So it will continue to go on, but it's a, you know, it's a Justice Department issue that somebody, if they walked in there today, they could take it up with the Justice Department against the district. So that's where it goes.
Ron, you're also making me think. There's another place that won't pass inspection too. our Perkins money that comes in the fund those programs, we have not had an audit yet. And I'll tell you that because that's the position I came out of when I came here. And I'm going to tell you, you are correct in the federal Perkins money. They will pull our Perkins money because that would not pass inspection. At that point, to keep it, we would have to, in a hurry, clean it up and come into compliance. And we don't want to be in that position. But I will say, yeah, now that I'm thinking about the question, late tonight, I wasn't quick enough. But yes, Jerry, I will stand by, it will not pass Perkins inspection.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion?
Connie, Jerry, guide us in the money line. What should we be doing here?
I told you in the last two items, there's money, there's cash sitting there,
Okay,
but I don't know what's gonna happen with the financial budget. And gotta rely on that money to get us by for operations if nothing else comes in, so. I mean, CTE funding is pretty important for us to get through the state. Because that will help. So with some of the costs, because you don't want to lose that funding. But the other two items were passed, you passed those. Like I said, the money's there, but to relying on that possibly if something happens with the funding.
thank you, Connie.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion? I'll make a motion that we approve the restroom renovation bids. Rob or Cindy, what happens if this bid isn't approved and the restrooms don't get updated?
Well, first of all, from the Perkins standpoint, when we get audited and don't pass the inspection, what happens is you give you a timeline and within a year to do it. So you don't have you got a little bit of a rush to get it done then. Second of all, my biggest concern is we have girls that have to go down into an area to change clothes for their laboratories that are not supervised by teachers, and there's nobody else in those laboratories. There have been many times I've been in the building. I have been there. I know Mark and Rob, you have been with me when when there's a young lady down in one of those bathrooms changing clothes. Anyone could walk in there. That is a huge safety issue. And then second of all, they are not ADA compliant. We're not servicing our students. So it's for academic gain in this building. And Connie is correct. Those career tech dollars, I don't think you want to lose. And we have not put the time into developing that building. We are putting emphasis in bringing back our career tech programs where they should be. And that should be a gym out there. My biggest concerns are right now is on the safety.
This is Greg. I think those are valid points, Cindy. And but my biggest concern is the forecast. And I just don't feel comfortable right now spending that kind of money until we have a better picture of what we're going to be into in the following year. I mean, I understand the funding issue. I'm personally not in favor of it right at this point in time. Doesn't mean that in 2 weeks that we find out something different and we could have a special meeting to move forward. That's my opinion.
Mr. Ridgway, what happens to these bids? How long are they good for?
They can be held for 60 days. They're required to be held for 60 days, at which time I have had situations where the owner has requested an extension, and at that point it's up to the bidder whether they want to extend their bid. But the bid documents require it to be held for 60 days.
And then what does that do for the timeline if we?
Well, with the uncertainty of the school year, I'm not sure, but we'd set it up to start a summer construction period. And we had a 90-day construction schedule for what we call substantial completion. And substantial completion means that it's back in order and can be used for its intended purpose. Final completion is buttoning up all the issues and closing up the contracts. But that was a cycle, so that, basically end of May, June, July, August, we'd be tearing them up and putting them back together.
Mr. Van Way, this is Rob again. The lowest bid was CCI, and that is the company that's currently in there right now, correct?
That is correct.
How long do you see them being in there yet to finish up the project they're currently on?
Yeah, that's a good question. They are about as far as they can go right now, because Mr. Romick had mentioned earlier about the sliding walls, the glass walls from California. They're wrapping up this week and early next with everything that they can do. And that will be basically everything but those sliding partitions and the flooring. So they will be out of work on that project. And then when probably, if California opens 6 weeks after that, they ship. So we're looking at realistically July for them to come back in and finish the project, hopefully.
I was just curious because knowing that they're on site, I didn't know if they were packed up and left. And went beyond the 60 days. That bid may go higher. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, that obviously when they bid it, when they bid it, I'm sure that's why that was part of why they were $32,000 less than the next guys, knowing that they were already mobilized and they were wrapping up this and they would go right to that. It would create a hardship on them, but like I said, contractually with their bid, they're obligated to hold that bid for 60 days. They wouldn't want, it's not their preference, but I think the way it would impact the school would be just construction schedule and completion in the late summer.
And if they started later, it would probably, if we are back in the buildings next year, that construction would be going on if we waited too long.
Yeah, we'd have to think about phasing and making some of those restrooms unavailable during the school. None of those provisions as far as phasing or building being occupied during construction were incorporated into the bid requirements. So there might be some pushback from them, but we could talk to them about it.
Would it even be possible to be done if we did have kids occupying those programs and in those labs? Is it even feasible to work on those restrooms while students are in the labs?
Well, it is, but what then it becomes is we wouldn't want to down all the restrooms in the entire building all at once. We'd have to talk to them about phasing it, completing some restrooms, then moving on to the others. What that does is it creates a sequencing issue. What they're going to want to do in the summer is do all their floor demolition, have all of them torn up at once so they can put them all back together before the school year. We get a late start into the midsummer. It wouldn't be feasible to expect them all to be done and back in order by the school year. So we'd have to think about alternate solutions, phasing some.
Yeah, that's what I was asked. That's what I was wondering about.
Yeah.
So really, all they need to be done is the ADA compliant. Is that right? We don't have to do all this other stuff. If we would just make them ADA compliant, it would be okay. Is that right?
About what we're doing, like once you got to move walls and make more room for a handicap chair to be placed in there, and then paint the wall back up.
That's correct. The locker rooms, the restrooms are such that it's not a matter of taking a fixture down or putting a grab bar up. The rooms actually, in order for the rooms in the lab to function adequately, the restroom areas have to be made larger. Once you do that, that's your big expense at that point, in order to relocate plumbing, underground, rough ends, make the rooms bigger.
If I paint a visual for some of you, the current bathrooms that are there look just like the bathrooms that were in that River Field House. Because maybe not all of you had walked through them. I know some of the board had, but I know that between the two groups of board members, between the field house and the Career Center, those bathrooms look identical. Second of all, the concern for the safety of the females, that building was not built to have female bathrooms in it. So putting them into into compliance, handicap accessible, we've also been able to work within that space and make room for a female changing area too. And really, Ron, have I not pushed for us to be as fiscally responsible as possible in what we were doing to get just the bare minimum to come into compliance, would you say?
Yeah. We still in each lab have a unisex restroom, but the way the labs are set up now, there is a universal locker room restroom area that, if you think about the auto lab, it's got like a saloon door on it made of plywood that screens individuals. And I talked to the instructor, and they actually basically, have a guard stand outside when somebody of the opposite sex, typically the girls, would need to go to the restrooms. It's built, back in the 80s when it was built, that wasn't a concern, but it certainly is and should be now.
And if I need to paint a picture, one of the laboratories, that young lady leaves clear out of that lab and goes down to a vacant area to change. I mean, I'm telling you, when I saw that is unsafe. But what is she going to do? It wasn't built for females back when the building was built. Not in those laboratories. We didn't see female welders.
And in the event that this doesn't pass, which I'm about to close it up for lack of a second, we're going to need to figure out the safety of those female students. Whether we have to hire somebody to escort those ladies, what is happening can't continue to happen.
does, Sarah, have some concerns about our public that comes in and uses some of the facilities, like the folks that come in and use the cosmetology services. I have literally seen people with walkers trying to navigate that system in there. I mean, it's a true concern. This was an area of compliance I worked in before I came here. It's an eye opener. But when you actually see your community trying to navigate through that, I mean, it's a little heartbreaking when you see it. And that's not even the students, that's just folks coming in to use the services. So that's, if people have questions about it, those are things I've seen in the building.
All right, the motion has died. There's no second, there's no support. We're on number 7, approval of financial reports. Is there any questions or discussion on the financial reports?
No, ma'am.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll make a second.
The voting is open. Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Abstain.
Mr. Winkler,
Abstain.
Connie, did you have a chance to check into that?
yes, I do believe that motion fails.
Is there anything on there that would need to be, we would need to have a special meeting on to hold anything up?
No.
All right. All right, that motion fails, and we are on number 8. Approval of kindergarten performance rubric. Rob, who's got this one?
This is Jennifer. I've got it.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jen.
So the kindergarten report card is a standards-based report card, and it has been for several years now. And the kindergarten team has worked with professional development to help learn more about how to express those benchmarks for the students in their learning. And after a lot of discussion by the kindergarten team and working with some research-based standards grading, they're making the final recommendation that instead of giving O, S, and U for outstanding, satisfactory, and unsatisfactory, that they use the 3-2-1-0 rubric that is a much better descriptor of where the student is in regards to performance on each standard. So a 3 would be proficient, 2 would be approaching proficient, 1 would be beginning progress, and 0 would be of concern. Another point of that is that each one of those areas of the standards that they are going to be assessing on the report card will also have a rubric on how that looks for that student. For proficient, what is the student modeling and being able to present to show proficiency, or approaching proficient, so that it's consistent across the district.
This is Ronnie. I make a motion we approve.
Jerry, I second.
Okay, voting is open. Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Smith,
Sorry. Yes.
okay.
That
Not
motion,
light truck.
I'm sorry. That motion carries and brings us to number 9, approval of the renewal for IXL Learning District license.
Yeah, Jen, you want to elaborate on that one as well?
Sure. So IXL is a learning program that is differentiated for students, and it has been used at Bellsville campus for the past 3 years through their Focus Grant. And this current year, in addition, Monroe Central had picked up the license through their grant. And we were able to have a trial for all teachers in grades 5 through 12. And I've heard wonderful responses back from teachers. They think that it's an excellent tool. And in the fact that we have the potential of being distance learning again in the fall or throughout next year, this would be an excellent tool to differentiate and be able to provide instruction for those gaps. It's not a complete instruction tool. It's not a curriculum. It is actually a support to what the teachers are teaching.
This is Ronnie. I make a motion we approve.
Jerry, second.
Okay, voting is open. Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. That motion carries and that concludes new business, which brings us to the treasurer's report.
Okay, the first item that I have is motion to approve the transfers or new money. The first 3 is getting new grant money from ODE. The one for the Ohio Department of Medicaid is establishing a budget that they're going to give us for fiscal year 20. We are working on the Lydia and Rob. We're all working on and Tess working on quotes to give them in order to get us started with everything, and they have agreed to the $275,000. So this is establishing the budget for that money when it is coming in. And the last one is a transfer from general fund for the River Field House. That was board approved, I believe, in February. That's all I have for that item. You want me to go ahead and move to the forecast, or you want to vote on that one?
I'll make a motion we approve.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie. Did somebody second that?
Jerry did.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Okay, voting is open. Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes. That motion carries, which brings us to the approval of the 5-year forecast.
okay, so we talked a little bit about this prior to this item. The most important thing to know is we're not going to be deficit spending for the next 5 years. So that's a good thing. But there is a lot of uncertainties that I don't know. But by law, like I said, I have to have something approved and submitted by the end of May. So a couple of things that I want to point out is in this forecast, everything is included in the forecast that has been board approved previously. Nothing from tonight's board meeting is in here except for the River Fieldhouse. And I do believe the Chromebooks, that's already been accounted for. The other thing that is accounted for in here in this forecast is the budget cut that was announced by the governor. And that's going to happen within the next 3 foundation payments from the state. That was in the total $544,892. That's what he's cutting within the next 3 payments. That is forecasted in these numbers that you're seeing. The other thing is we are receiving some money from the CARES Act, but that's federal money, so that is not going to show on this forecast. It is going to go into a grant fund. We're receiving $600,491 for that. And of course, there's certain criteria it can be used for. I have emailed Curtis. I told Rob and Cindy if they can figure out something that we may be able to spend that on, that would be great. The other thing I want to point out is we all know about the river pipeline that was appealed. They are appealing 43% of what their 2019 assessed values was. So in this forecast, 57%, which is the percentage that was not appealed, is included in this forecast. I don't know what's going to happen with the other 43% of the revenue because it's still not, I think the tax department has till the end of June to rule on what they're going to do, whether they approve it or not. So, but it is reflected in here as what we are going to get, but the appeal is not. And like I said, everything that has been board approved as far as capital improvements is included in this one-time transfers for the River Fieldhouse, the Ramtech, the STEM, Skyview Dugout Project, and the Animal Clinic. The Animal Clinic that was board approved prior to, I think it was last year, is when it was approved. But I have that happening in 2021, fiscal year 2021. I also upped the transfer for I increased the transfer for, of course, we've been talking about the food service fund. I up that to 400, I think 400,000, 450,000. And that's also budgeted in here as a transfer for this year. I don't know what's going to happen with the food service, considering this going on with the virus. With us still feeding kids, we're actually still getting revenue from them, and we're actually receiving more per student reimbursement than what we would in the schools, because now they're going through as free and reduced. So I'm not sure how that revenue will play in to what we're going to get once all this is said and done. But that's what I wanted to highlight on my forecast for right now. Like I said, if something comes up in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to go ahead and submit. But there's a period that I'm able to revise the forecast and resubmit to the state. But if there's other news that pops out within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we can bring it back. I can bring it back and we can go from there. Once I figure out more data and maybe other things are announced. This forecast is also including the 4 new buses that we purchase every year. It's already in there. Textbook purchases, I've talked to Jen, I've worked with Jen, and we're going to continue to try to replace textbooks as we can. So that is projected in this forecast also. But that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions?
Connie, I have a question about the Rover pipeline uphill.
Yes.
Is there any time frame on that? I mean, that could probably drag out for who knows how long.
What I'm under, I think it's June 30th is the timeline that the tax department has to decide whether they're going to allow the appeal or deny the appeal. And then from there, it goes back to, I do believe, the county auditors. The school district unfortunately does not have any say in this right now. There's a bill that's trying to be passed, or they're saying to get the state representatives to possibly have some influence in what the county auditors are doing. But the county auditors will decide from there whether they want to go further with it or just let it go. So it could take years, 2 to 4 years. I mean, if they couldn't really give us an exact deadline because we don't know at what process it's going to follow yet. But I do know by the end of June, they have to make a ruling on what they're going to allow Rover to do.
Thank you. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
The forecast looks really healthy. Let's just hope the revenues come in as projected. I mean, the money's not here yet, except for this year's, but let's hope everything stays where it's at currently.
Tony, I'll make a motion to accept the 5-year forecast.
I'll second. It's Greg.
Okay, voting is open. Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mr. Gost?
Abstain.
Mr. Winkler?
Yes.
Motion passes. That ends treasurer's report. And at this time, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session for the consideration of the employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
This is Greg. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second Jerry.
Okay, this item was not set up as a motion, so I'll have to revise that. So you guys won't be able to vote. We'll just do a voice vote. Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Winkler.
Yes, go to executive session.
All right, we're adjourned for executive session. Let's record show it's 9:17. A motion for an executive session to discuss the personnel, the discipline. I'm not reading it, Connie. I don't have my board docs up. So can you fill in the correct wording?
Promotion or compensation of public employees.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Ronnie.
I'll second it, Greg.
All right. Oh, I gotta.
Okay, voting is open.
I'm going.
Sarah, how you want to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mr. Gust, Mr. Gust,
He's muted.
you're muted.
He's muted.
Your microphone, Jer. We can hear a word.
You're
Can you
muted.
Video.
There he
I
is.
can, I can hear
Yes.
you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Let the record show we're adjourning into executive session. I can't see my clock, Connie, so I don't know what time it is.
10:45.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Tess, bring us back.
Okay, I have everything live streaming again.
I think we're missing Jerry.
I think Jerry's sleeping. He turned his light out and I couldn't see him.
Yeah.
Seriously, he said he kept getting slower and slower when he's talking.
Check upstairs in your room, in your dresser.
I definitely I can't find it.
Okay, looks like Jerry's here. Everybody else here. Rob, are you ready to reconvene?
Yes, good to go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could you guys refresh, please, before we get started? Because I revised the 2 items that were for action. I took those off. And then I made the executive sessions actions. So you'll have to refresh.
Yeah, I refreshed.
And I do have one note I got word from Zach that he, under the personnel sections for the contract renewals for the teachers, there is somebody that's listed in the Powhatan building that is now in Mr. Tolz's building at Bellsville Elementary. Brittany Stack, I think it is. So I just wanted to make note of that. That change needs to be made.
It's Brittany Stack, Connie.
Brittany Stack is located on Powhatan's building under the renewals, but she's actually in Bellsville Elementary's building. So she's just listed on the wrong building. That's it. I just wanted to make note of that.
Okay. All right. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. We'll let the record show we came back at 11:35.
Okay, hold on, Sarah. Jerry can't hear.
I can hear Sarah. I just don't think you can hear me.
I can hear you, not great, Jerry, but I can hear you.
I see lips moving, but no voice.
Yeah, what happened, Jerry? You're not muted.
Okay, I'm gonna leave him on my phone and he can hear you through my computer.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I'm gonna go ahead and start this then.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
All right, let's reconvene this meeting and let the record show at 11:36 we reconvene. Next item on the agenda is the personnel, right?
Yes.
All right, is there any questions or discussion on any of the personnel? Anything need pulled out?
Chad, I thought we was gonna pull out.
I have to read this. God.
Rob, did you hear Jerry?
Yeah, yes, he said he wanted Chad, administrative Chad Stevens pulled out to do it separately. Is that what he's wanting?
Yeah, we can't physically do that because it's a list. So Connie, I'll let you keep track of that, okay?
Okay, let me, so that's under contract renewals.
Yeah, administrative.
Okay, so Chad Stevens, correct?
Yeah.
He's on the bottom of the list.
All right, so in the motion, if somebody wants to make a motion, I will note that also.
What are we doing again? I missed that. What?
Under administrative, on the list of renewals, administrative contract renewals, we're taking Chad Stevens out to determine him separately.
Okay.
The other, unless you want anybody else pulled out, it will stand minus Chad on that list.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, anybody?
We need to make a motion to do that.
Yeah, if you don't have any questions or anything, you can make a motion.
To approve the personnel.
If you do them all together, you can, we've done that before. Or we can do each one, administrative or classified, separately.
Well, I thought she said we had to make a motion for that particular thing.
We have to make a motion to pull Chad Stevens out.
Right, you can make a motion to approve all the items or one individually. But whatever you guys do, I will type in the motion box, excluding Chad, whenever I make the note, when somebody makes a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel minus Chad Stevens.
I'll second it.
And Greg, I just want to be clear, are you doing just the administrative or are you doing administrative, all items in personnel except Chad?
All items 1 through 7.
Okay.
Unless someone had an issue with someone else, I'm just going to do all items 1 through 7, excluding Chad Stevens.
Okay, and I think Ronnie seconded that, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me just get my little note in here, except Chad's been looking at it. Okay, I added all items except Chad Stevens located under personnel renewal of contract under administration, that should say. Renewal section of contract. That doesn't make sense. Hold on a second. I'm tired. Okay, I got it. Okay, Mr. Shoemaker and then Mr. Wayne. Okay, voting is open.
Tony, I'm on Zoom. I can't get back to the meeting. So,
Okay, how would you like to vote?
yes.
Okay, Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mr. Winkler,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I got a question for Rob. Can we discuss Mr. Stevens with Rob before we vote on it next meeting or something?
Oh, so you want to table Chad?
Yeah, I think you ought to. Either that or don't act on it tonight.
Well, I don't have any problem acting on it tonight.
Okay.
Rob, what's your inclination?
Yeah, you can bring it up as a motion and act on it if you wish, yes.
But is there a problem waiting until the next meeting?
No, we could wait and do it in June. That wouldn't be an issue. Yeah. If that's what you wish to do, yes, we just have to do
I
that.
mean, there's some discussion we'd like to have on it, but
Okay.
if you want to vote tonight, that's fine.
Yeah, we can wait.
I think, Rob, if we don't tell him by the end of this month, then he's automatically hired. Is that right? He's automatically renewed if we don't give him an answer by the end of this month here.
Yeah, we'd have to do it in a special meeting. I mean, you could make a motion to do, we'd have to have a special meeting if we're not going to act on it tonight.
Is that what you want to do, Ronnie?
Well,
Jerry?
it's up to you. Are we going to have anything on other special meeting this month?
If we get information financially, we were gonna revisit the bathroom sales.
The restrooms and stuff.
Are we talking, as far as Chad is concerned, is it something we have to discuss? Or is it, I don't, guess I'm a little bit lost in this comment. We pulled him off of that particular list to do that, to discuss him particularly, right?
Yeah, with Rob.
Yeah, so is there something that needs to be discussed now? I mean, I guess it's up to Rob whether if we had to discuss it now or it needs to be evaluated differently. I guess we need a little direction here, Rob. What are we doing?
Well, I had it on there to act on it for this meeting. With the recommendation that was on there.
Ronnie, we can dispense with the rules and have an executive session, go through that.
That's fine. It's late tonight. If you want to vote on it, go ahead.
Well, I don't want you not to be heard. I mean,
No, I'd like to be heard, but I'd like to talk to Rob. I mean, I know I had some concerns brought up to me. And I know Jerry has. But if you want to vote on it, I'm just saying if it's 2-2, he doesn't get hard.
We'll set up a special meeting.
Okay, well, let's just do that then.
is the proper thing to do to table it then, or?
I think he's already been pulled out, so I think you're good just to move on.
Okay.
So I thought.
All right.
Is everybody else okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
What did you say, Jerry?
I so moved that we adjourn.
Okay, Connie, take your pick. One of them.
Okay, I got Greg first and Jerry second.
Woohoo!
Voting's open.
Okay. I vote yes, Connie. I can't get up, but you can't.
I gotcha, Jerry. I gotcha.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Mr. Gust,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Winkler.
Yes.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.